Matthew Finlin, welcome back to the Move to Millions podcast. How are you today?
Yeah, excellent. Like we were just talking about before, life has been really lifing. It's good. It's just I'm a bit of a max capacity right now, but it's excellent.
Awesome, awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. So, since people already know who you are, and we'll also tag your first episode in the show notes if they want to go back and listen to that, like kind of catch us up. What's been going on since we were last together?
Wow, I'm actually excited to rewatch that. Yeah. We'll do another one in a year and a
It was
half or
such a good
something.
conversation. Oh my gosh. Oh my
So
gosh.
good.
It's so good.
Yeah, so good. Man, since then, I mean, so much growth has happened for me as an individual and in my business life, and it's been very organic and it has been an evolution. It hasn't necessarily been a pivot as much as just, uh, man makes plans and God laughs.
Mhm.
And I always say, God's plan over Matthew's plan every day. And as always, it's like, in the heat of the moment, sometimes you're like, I don't like this. And oh, why is this happening to me? And then a year later, you're like, oh, I'm so grateful that happened. So grateful that the path switched up on me because this is
Mhm.
so much better. And I guess I just had that happen to me so many times in my life that now it's kind of like, oh, like, I don't know exactly what to celebrate yet,
Mhm.
but this dramatic change of events is definitely something for me to celebrate. And so on the personal front, my partner and I are relocating to Peru
Mhm.
from Canada, from North America. And like I was telling you, it seems like every day, there's like 10 new reasons why I want to leave North America, and then like 3 to 5 reasons why Peru. And so that's really, really fun, really, really
Yeah.
alive for me. And I'm really, really excited about that. And then for business, I'm still doing my coaching, 5 pillars, what I now call applicable spirituality,
Mhm.
on one hand, and then on the other hand, just basically sales, honestly, direct
Mhm.
sales and money blocks, primarily, I guess would be that one-on-one coaching. But I'm putting all of my heart and soul into this retreat center, which I now have equity in Peru, and even more so than that, into building the youth academy, which I'm
Yes.
just so excited about. It's so needed. And the Youth Academy is basically, for your listeners, the things that you wish you got taught in school instead of learning the hard way in your 20s.
Yeah.
Taxes, how to make money, how to
So
communicate in
good.
relationships. Yeah.
So important. Like, I mean, I love all of that, right? We talked a little bit before we started recording about why Peru. One of the things that you said that I was really excited about and it gave me the warm fuzzies was the way that the culture is ingrained in spirituality, right? I feel like here in North America, I'm in the US, of course, you're in Canada at the present. It's such a dance for the acceptance of spirituality, even though for the United States specifically, the whole country was started because they were escaping religious persecution, and our money says in God we trust. But as soon as you want to introduce God and spirituality out in the world, like there's something wrong with you because of that damn Fannie Lou Hamer who said separate church and state, right? And so the thought of being in a country, in a community, in a culture where the most important part of us is accepted, appreciated, and probably even desired, that makes me feel warm and fuzzy, like all over, all over.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you
We're
said a retreat center, so a place, and where did you say it was? And then the sacred something,
Sacred Valley of,
Sacred
of
Valley.
Peru. Yeah.
So yeah, so just the thought of being in that kind of place, it feels like from what I'm perceiving about what's about to come for you and your partner, it's like the heavens are about to open.
Mm, mm.
That's really just what I feel in my spirit right now. And I don't know. I don't, this popped in, so I'm going to ask the question. I don't know if you would say this is a thing or not, but the courage to decide, and I know you've lived internationally before, but the courage to decide to give up anything here and to reestablish and plant there. Like, walk us through the journey of how did you come? We can talk about why Peru or not Peru, but making the decision to like uproot again and to uproot specifically in this season of your life to do this work? Like, why is now the time?
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, before we get into like the logic, I guess, of it, or even the emotion of it, the path has just been laid out in front of me.
Mhm.
And one of my best friends, we have this funny joke that we've been saying a lot where um like a lot of times like even spirit especially spiritual people, this is the metaphor that we draw is the spiritual people are on a boat, a big boat, right? And the boat
Mhm.
starts sinking. And the spiritual person goes like, nope, God is going to protect me. Right. And they're just like praying to God, protect me, God. Thank you, God, for protecting me. Boat's sinking. And they're like, God's got me. And then the boat sinks and they drown. And they
Mhm.
go to heaven and they're at the gates. And they're like, God, like, why didn't you save me?
Mhm.
And God's like, I put life rafts on that boat.
Right.
What, like, I did save you. You just didn't take the action to get off of the sinking ship. I put the boats there.
Yeah.
And I see that happening and I feel that happening like so much. And
Mhm.
so for me, it's just like ship is sinking.
Mhm.
There's a lifeboat.
Mhm.
I'm hopping on. And it was like as soon as kind of all these things started really popping up, which I'll get into like, somewhat quickly about like
Mhm.
what the sinking ship is and what the life vessel is. Um, I hosted a retreat with my company in March
Mhm.
in Peru. And then that same retreat center offered my partner and I equity, and we took it.
Mhm.
And so it just kind of was like, we were like, are we going to go to Mexico? Are we going to go to Tulum? Are we going to like, what are we going to do this? Are we going to do that? Like Peru was kind of on our radar. And then it was like, oh, here's an equity deal. We love the space. We love to host. I love Peru for,
Mhm.
large list of reasons that I cracked off earlier. And it just made sense. It was like I got that pull, that God pull, the same pull that brought me to Hong Kong I told you about last
Mhm.
time. I was like in debt. It was day 9. And God's like, you gotta go. I was like, all right. Same thing. Just following that path that
Yeah.
has
Just surrender.
surrender. Surrender
Yeah.
and follow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then the honestly for me, it feels like it would take way more courage to stay. To be
Mm.
totally honest, like it,
Okay.
it feels like it would take way more courage to stay right now. I don't have the most positive prediction of the future of Canada and North America. We can say the Western world,
Mhm.
but like if you see the UK, it's burning to the ground right now. The UK
Mhm.
is toast. Australia was nuts during COVID. I also think it's toast.
Mhm.
Canada, United States, the economics are already starting to get a little shaky, like
Mhm.
maybe a little bit more than a little shaky. And Trump almost getting shot in the head and it like blew over. Like
Mhm.
like like if this was 20 years ago and a former president running for president almost get shot in the head, it'd be
Yeah.
everywhere. But the biggest deal. And now we're just like, oh yeah, moving on. The debates are in a couple of weeks. And just like the fact that something so intense like that happened, and then like weeks later, you can't even find it anymore,
Mhm.
and then and I already told you some of the cultural things for me. And so some of the big cultural things for me are like I believe that there's this system
Mhm.
that is convincing humans of all uh races and genders that they're a victim,
Mhm.
and and then therefore they are, instead of just being like, hey, like, everyone's had everyone has traumas, and
Yeah.
traumas are different for individuals, and some people have way larger ones than other people. But newsflash, everyone's traumatized. And other newsflash, if you live in North America, you have a better life than anyone 500 years ago, 700
Yeah.
years ago, 1,000 years ago. And just kind of perpetuating that. And then a big one for me, and this is something that I have been pretty like biting my tongue about, and now it's starting to feel like I'm lying by omission,
Mhm.
is I know that there is only two genders.
Mhm.
And I know that you are the gender that you are born.
Mhm.
And that's a huge reason for me because unfortunately, I can't have and raise kids
Mhm.
in this current culture.
Mm.
Huge. It's so sad. Honestly, it's just
Yeah.
so sad for me. And so there's a handful of reasons, like kind of along that lines of like, the culture, the economics, the corrupt politics. This is in Canada, this is in North America, the mismanagement of taxpayers' dollars. Like, why am I paying taxes for you to go bomb kids in a different country? What's going on right now? There's homeless
Yeah.
people in Vancouver. Like Vancouver and LA is just like, what's going on? We're giving them free poison. That's my taxpayers' dollars is to give them drugs and bomb kids when like there's people homeless and like
Mhm.
just what's going on? So there's all that kind of doom and gloom and yucky convo.
Mhm.
And then there's the like why Peru. And the why Peru, like I mentioned to you, top one, spirituality is woven into the culture. It's just
Yes.
woven into the culture. And uh, what was so great for me, when it really hit me, is our tour guide, just an honest Peruvian guy, didn't seem that spiritual, just seemed like a just tour guide taking around the city of Cusco. And he's like, "Oh, are you guys gonna do ayahuasca?" And we're like, "Yeah." And then he's like, "Okay, well, like make sure." And he was like really just he, like dropped in, just
Mhm.
dropped right. This is just a tour guide, just a regular lad. Dropped right in and was like, okay, like it's gonna show you shadows and make sure that you like are praying and like just saying all these things. I was just like, oh, like this is so good. And they didn't lose their connection to the divine, to God over all of these years. And like I said to you earlier, just quick bullet points why Peru is it's like spirituality, like chocolate, coffee.
Mhm.
I don't want to wear plastic anymore.
Mhm.
They've got, good clothes. I don't want my food coming in plastic. They don't have all these bans on things like raw milk. You can just get it. And
Mhm.
the air is clean, the water is clean, and the country's tearing down their 5G towers because
Mhm.
the citizens understand that it's not healthy. They're the second country to leave the IMF, which is a big deal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a big deal.
Mhm.
Um, and like I said, every day it's kind of like more reasons are kind of like
Yeah.
popping up into my sphere. And so, yeah, somewhat long-winded answer, but also like very, very succinct. Like I could probably talk about each of those
Yeah.
subjects.
Well, the one thing that you said, I'm take us all the way back to the
Yeah, all the way back.
start that I
Yeah.
think is what is the undercurrent of everything that you've shared is, and these might not be your exact words, but this is the way that I heard it, is that you've undergone an evolution, not a pivot. And
Yeah.
I think that that is really powerful. Like we could literally stick a pin right there and talk about the difference between evolving and pivoting.
Hmm.
Because I estimate that in order for one to evolve, you have to separate yourself from the material things, all the things that are outside of yourself, and you literally have to go in order to determine what your next steps are. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can't get to the next oftentimes, and this is a big mistake entrepreneurs make, is what got you to where you are won't get you to where you need to go next.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
pivoting isn't the answer. Like what I feel like is it you have to evolve. You have to become the next version of yourself. And it takes courage. It takes clarity, right? You're gonna have to be willing to, as my nana used to say, get somewhere and sit down and realize what's wrong in you, around you, because of you, as a result of you, in order to be willing to step up. And you're going to have to get clarity of vision, right? Like, what is next? What does the next iteration look like? And then I think you also have to find a measure of commitment and conviction so that you can become consistent in the
Mm,
thing, right? In the being of the thing that you should be. Almost as if you don't know whether or not it's going to pan out, or in spite of knowing, right? Kind of like detaching from the outcome of what it
Yeah,
is. And what I feel like, you didn't say this, but this is what I feel like I heard in between the words that you said, is that just by recognizing the need to leave, the place to go showed up.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. It's being committed to the vision and unattached to what it looks like.
Yeah. That's so,
Yeah.
that is so good and both very hard. Like, I mean, I get it because I do this work on myself, right? But let's break that down. Being committed to the vision, but not concerned about what it looks like.
That's right.
Can you say that in English for me, please? Like, I just imagine right now someone's listening and they're like, wait, what? Like,
Like
how in the world could I be committed to the vision without being concerned with what it looks like? It feels like detaching from any and all outcomes and just knowing that wherever you land is the place that you were supposed to be because you were intentional at the onset and that's what helped you to get there. But it can't be that simple, Matthew. So break that down for us.
yeah, okay, yeah, that's good. It's funny. No one's ever asked me to really break it down, but everyone's like, yes. Everyone hears that, they're like, yes to that. Okay, so breaking it down. Well, I think the easiest thing for me to do is start with a metaphor, and then we can maybe like unravel it a little bit. And so this past weekend, I did an extremely intense mountain experience with a group of 9 strong men. It was intense. 25 miles, mile and a half elevation gain. Nuts. Over 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Summited a peak. And there was a path that we were supposed to take. And as we were going along the path stopped.
Mm-hmm.
We had a destination where we had to get to, right?
Yeah.
There
And there
was a
was no path.
there was a pathway, and then the pathway stopped, and
Mm-hmm.
we had to go off path, and we're bushwhacking and falling over creeks and to climb up this super sketchy thing, and go, it's called a no fall zone, like you're not allowed to fall. And then we did, and we got where we were going, and we
Mm-hmm.
were committed to the vision, but we were unattached to what it looked like getting there.
Yeah, that's
And
good.
so I feel like so for me, if I was to say I'm committed to my vision of creating a fully holistic education for future generations,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm committed to. Well, maybe I can't do that from Canada right now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I got to go somewhere else. And maybe that going somewhere else has nothing to do with the vision, but it has to do with my health, it has to do
Mm-hmm.
with me, the deliverer. And so the it's funny because I don't want to use the word pivot, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's the correct word to use right now, which is
Okay.
so many times people it's about maybe the evolution is even better. Yeah, evolution is better, but you have your aim on a goal, right? Like let's say it's
Mm-hmm.
to make $1 million, right? You have your goal to make $1 million in your business.
Mm-hmm.
Like Bic. Bic is a hilarious example, right? Didn't they start out as pens? I think they
Right.
started Bic pens and now obviously lighters. You buy lighters.
Right.
And so they had to evolve their business to get to that financial goal that they wanted to get to.
Mm-hmm.
And so being committed to the vision and unattached to what it looks like kind of revolves around those types of operations.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you want to get extremely fit and you start exercising and doing all these things, and then maybe you injure yourself. Well, you injured yourself because you weren't being mindful. You weren't paying attention to what your body needs. You were too focused on the doing and not enough on the recovery and the building. And now you've been forced by God to recover and take a reflection there. And that's not a setback. It's just a change of direction for you. And
Or
so
it's
this,
just a pause too, right? So it's
right.
just it's a protection mechanism,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Like, and that's the beauty of God, that He is always there and is determining because of His provision for whatever the vision is, right? So we have this vision, we think it's our vision, but it's really our vision with permission from His vision because He
Mm.
gave us the vision in the first place. And so because He's given us the vision, He's made the provision, which is why we don't have to be attached to what it looks like because He's already figured it all out. And if we are open and flexible, then however we get there is typically going to be more useful than the route we would have thought to take to get there.
100%. 100%.
Oh,
100%.
that's so
That,
good,
that's what
Matthew.
happens a
That is
lot.
so good.
That's what happens a lot. People get attached to how it happens, committed to the vision,
Yeah.
unattached to what it looks like. They get attached to what it looks like. And then they're,
Yeah. And they
you know,
miss the
they're just
vision.
butting
They
up
fall
against the
short.
wall instead of going around it. Yeah. And then, you know, and it's such a fine line too, because if we went too deep in this line of thinking, people would be quick to change,
Mhm.
and then they would lose the resiliency aspect of it.
Mhm.
Right? If you're too,
That's a good point.
if you're too quick, if you're not a little bit attached, you know, a little bit like I have an idea, I think it's going to work, I'm going to try it, and then it doesn't work, you don't go right away. Maybe I need to try it again. Maybe I need to try
Mhm.
it. Law of averages still exists.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is a very fine line, and I usually anchor into that quote
Mhm.
when it's clearly not what I thought it was going to look like.
Mhm.
I don't lose the vision, but when it's like very obvious that it's not going to be with these people, it's
Mhm.
very obvious. You said the word clarity. My buddy and I, we had this one really potent experience, and we called it the clarity round. And
Mhm.
what we ended up realizing is that what we ended up realizing is that we just need to focus on making more money. Physically good, emotionally good, mentally good, spiritually good. Money, got to get the money up. We're like, but the other stuff is so fun. And like, you know, we got to. And so we had to lean into like unraveling, making the money, making money fun, and all of those different
Mhm.
things. And what we recognized is that it was clarity. There was one path to take, right? There was one path to take, and it wasn't the path that we were wanting to take. And
Mhm.
so often that's what happens. People got plan A, and then it's plan B. And instead of being grounding in the clarity and being like,
Mhm.
I'm so grateful, God, that I know where I stand and I know where to go. They're like, oh, like, but I wish it was the way I wanted it to be. And maybe I can try and make it that way. Instead of just being like, it's not that way. It was never going to be that way. I'm actually here. And I'm so
Yeah.
grateful that I have clarity on my life and my circumstances, even if it wasn't what I wanted it to be.
Right.
Yeah.
And even when you don't have the clarity, I'm going to go back to the that word I said earlier, surrender,
Mhm.
because I think about even, the Bible says our ways are not his ways, right? His ways are higher than our ways. So part of the getting the vision, right? And I believe, the scripture says when you delight yourself in the Lord, he gives you the desires of your heart. So the vision that you have in the first place, it was not your original thought or construct, it was God's. If you are in alignment with him, that's what delight in him means. When you are in alignment, you see yourself the way that he sees you. The vision you have from the beginning was his idea, not yours, but he's planted it in you because he's already made provision to it. And if you're willing to surrender to it, which is I don't care what it looks like. I don't care how I get there. I just know this is the result. Then the path that emerges as you take the next step to take really does call out for you and give you the confidence to keep taking steps, right? It's like a
Mhm.
GPS, right? In order for me to turn on my GPS, I have to know where I'm going. I have to have the address. But that's
Mhm.
typically the only thing I know. I might have an idea about what side of town it's on based on the things I know about that address, but I don't actually know where I'm going. I am trusting, I am surrendering to the GPS to get me there,
That's so
right?
good. That is such a good analogy too. Like today I drove my partner to do an appointment, and there was all this traffic and all these crazy things happened, and Google was changing it up. Go this way instead, go
Mm-hmm.
that way instead. And if I had just stuck the main route, it would have taken probably an extra hour and a half to go
Yeah.
where we're going. That's great. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So
And you
I think that's the only way that you can evolve and do something that you might not even technically be prepared for, but it's because you've released the need to know what it's going to look like or decide what it looks like
mean,
so that, you know what I mean? Like, I think
well,
that's
that's
the
the thing though, you are prepared.
yeah.
like technically you are prepared because God only gives you what you're ready for,
This is
right?
true.
He only tests you with things that you can handle.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a constant thing is we're constantly limiting our capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And like a guide stone that like how to operate the GPS, I do it through two ways. I tune into my body because people
Mm-hmm.
don't give the body's wisdom enough credit.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm about to do something, I ask, does this feel constrictive or expansive?
That's a
And
good question.
and sometimes, like maybe breaking up with a partner that you've been with for a long time, it feels expansive. And you're like, ooh, but that's a kind of yucky thing, but it doesn't feel constrictive. It feels expansive. And then the other question that I ask, these are the two questions I ask myself. Does this feel constrictive or expansive? And then am I doing this out of obligation or inspiration?
Mm. Oh my
Am I
gosh, that's
doing
good.
am I doing this out of obligation or inspiration? Because if it's obligation, you're going to become resentful. This
Mm-hmm.
is what it is. You're doing it out of obligation, you're going to become resentful. If you're doing it out of inspiration, it actually grows love. It
Yeah.
grows more.
Yeah.
Constrictive or expansive, obligation or inspiration.
And to add to that, constriction causes and creates lack.
Hmm.
Expansion creates abundance.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, oh, that's so good. And same thing. I could say that obligation creates lack and inspiration creates abundance.
Totally.
So it's really it's always an exercise of abundance, right? I have these bracelets. I gave them out at my last live event. They say, "What would abundance do?" Kind of like those old school "What would Jesus do" bracelets. You remember
I
those?
love that.
What would abundance do? Because most of us we're born in lack, we live in lack, we spend most of our time in lack, so much so that we don't even have a center. We don't have a main construct of what abundance is and what it looks like.
Yeah.
So when you're presented with anything, instead of just responding with the first thing that comes, which is usually lack, asking yourself, what would abundance do right now, right?
Yeah.
When I'm
Yeah.
journaling, I write whatever comes out, and then when I'm done, when I've reached capacity, I ask myself, would abundance add anything to this?
Oh, that's
And it
nice.
pours out so much more because I've moved beyond, to use your words, constriction into expansiveness.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
really does open up this whole other paradigm of what could be possible for me in that moment in this season, right? And so when I think back to your decision to leave North America and to go to Peru, it makes sense because you've expanded your capacity beyond which you could actually get, receive, and even impact the lives of others if you were to stay here, which is powerful. And when I go back to when I said earlier, the courage, right? Like the courage it takes. And you said, no, it actually takes more courage to stay than to leave. But it is, in fact, courage because you are still deciding to leave something that has been comfortable for you for a period of time.
Yeah.
And it's not like you're going back to Hong Kong.
Yeah, it's not
You're
like that.
going somewhere different, right?
Yeah.
So it takes courage to uproot everything. I mean, I have no idea what it would take to go live in Peru. Like, what is it? What's the process? Like, are you going to become a citizen? Are you going to be dual citizen? Like, what does all of that look like? Those are logistics, and those are things that we don't necessarily have to know when we're making the decision to anchor into the vision. But eventually they play a part and how we get there. That's part of that, what it looks like.
Totally, totally. Well, okay, so my one-on-one containers, I call it applicable spirituality,
Mm-hmm.
communication and relationships, sales and stuff. It's actually all just, I call my container courage. It's the courage container,
Oh,
actually.
nice. I didn't know that.
It's all anti-action paralysis. That's what it is.
Oh,
That's the whole thing. Whole thing is time management,
nice.
priorities, and techniques and teachings and blah blah. But it's actually just anti-action paralysis.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's all those questions that just started coming to your mind,
Mm-hmm.
I'll think of that when I get there.
Yeah.
Right? Like oh, but what about citizenship and how long can I be there and like this and this? Like, I don't know. I'll just figure it out when I get there. Like, and
Wow.
and and so often in as an entrepreneur, that's the same thing that happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's the exact same thing that happens. Is it's like it does take, I guess it does take, what do they say? It's like It's like genius and madness are next door neighbors or something
Right.
like,
Yeah.
right? Like crazy and successful or like best friends, things of that nature. And so, yeah, the it definitely does take courage. God definitely always is like wanting us to expand.
Mhm.
Right? God's wanting us to expand. He's wanting us to take our 5 talents and bring back 10. He's
Right.
wanting us to take our 2 talents and bring back 4. That's the
Yeah.
point. The point is to expand and be that like beacon of light that
Yeah.
just even the actions alone inspire others
Right.
to do things. And so yeah, I mean, it's like it does take courage, totally. I guess I'm just not new to it, I guess, It's
Yeah.
just
Well, right. Because
yeah.
you've been doing this for a while, but for the layperson who's listening
Yeah.
that wants to, in a lot of ways, uproot, right? And uproot some of the things that need to be uprooted
Yeah.
while also recognizing the need for the evolution to occur in a format that doesn't look like what they think it should look like
Mhm, mhm,
that is
mhm.
that's you have to be courageous to do it, because how many of us have been given a command, right? We've been told what we need to do, but and we know we should be obedient, but obedience feels uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Obedience feels restricting.
Mm,
Obedience feels like I'm going to have to lose something in order to be obedient to this. And so
mm,
they decide not to be obedient and to keep doing what they think is best instead of recognizing that God knows best
mhm,
and
mhm.
creating even more challenge for themselves. So the courage to surrender is a whole thing,
It's a
because
whole
not
thing, right?
everybody who knows that they need to uproot is packing their bags right now.
Yeah. Well, the
Some people
the weird thing.
are buying more things to inhabit the same place. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Oh my
So
goodness. That's been one thing my partner and I too has just been like, humans are just collectors. We just collect stuff. We're just
we
collecting. And now we're
definitely
leaving
are.
like, oh my God, look at all this stuff. What the heck? We don't need this, don't need that. What we got. The thing about courage is that because we all want to be courageous, right? Like we can say across the board, every single human would be like, I desire to be courageous. Well, one thing that people don't take into consideration about courage is that it requires fear.
Mm.
You have to be scared to be courageous.
Ooh.
Otherwise, you're not being brave. You're just doing something.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's no fear, there's not even an opportunity for courage.
That's good. Oh, that's so good. I say all the time that fear is an indication that your next level is present.
And how do you get there?
Yeah, right.
Courage. Have you
Yeah,
seen
taking the courage. Yeah,
Dawkins
allowing
level
the
of
courage to
consciousness?
speak louder than the fear.
Say that again, please.
Allowing the courage to speak louder than the fear.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. You've heard there's this I just brought up one thing. It's called Dawkins levels of consciousness. It's really
Mm.
cool. This is really, really cool. Basically, like you have a line, and then below the line, you've got like pride and fear and envy and wrath. And at the very bottom is guilt and shame. And then above that, you've got, joy and happiness and abundance and whatever, all these things. But the breaker line is courage.
Mm.
That's like the transitionary line, Dawkins levels of consciousness. It's really,
Got
really
it.
cool.
I wrote that down so I can look it up.
There's this just to tie into the letting courage speak louder, because that like there's this I want to say Cherokee, but I could be wrong, but some sort of indigenous American um what's the right word, teaching. And
Hmm.
it basically goes like the grandson goes up to the elder and says, elder, teach me something. And then the elders, and I'm going to butcher this for sure, but the idea is epic. And the elder basically goes like, okay, well, there's two wolves
Hmm.
inside of you and they're fighting. And one of the wolves represents fear and envy and lack.
Hmm.
And the other one represents courage and abundance and light
Hmm.
fighting.
Hmm.
And the grandson eventually goes, well, which wolf wins? And the elder says, the one that you feed.
Mm. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. And I think
Oh
about that.
gosh, that's good.
Think about that all the time. All the
Hmm.
time. What are you feeding? What are
Yeah,
you
what
feeding?
are you feeding right now? Oh, that's so good, Matthew. Oh my gosh. I'm looking at the time and I'm like, ah,
Again.
no. I know. Oh my gosh, this is so good. This is so good. Like, yeah, it's all I got is it's good. Like, it's just really, really good. And I just know that the listeners are going to, they're going to have something to think about because if which you feed determines where you go, and the choices are fear and lack and darkness and courage, abundance and light. And I would argue most people are, without even realizing it, they're unconscious to the fact that they're feeding fear, lack, and darkness. Yes.
100%. 100%. Yeah. Well, because that's even the thing about mindfulness too, is it's like the brain is designed, it's a threat detector,
Yeah.
especially in everyone, but especially in women. It's a threat detector. It's designed to detect threats.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like constantly what it's doing. Like what does the brain do? It monitors past patterns to help predict uh, what may happen. And so all most of that prediction process is like last time when I was in a relationship like this, I got hurt in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Last time when I did this, I got hurt in that way. And so it's kind of constantly in this like looking for negativity to prevent negativity from happening. And
Wow.
so if you don't have mindfulness, you are feeding the let's call it like the dark wolf.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm gonna keep talking for a little bit, just a couple more minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I lately the question I've been asking myself directly, and this for some of your listeners, this will apply, and this would be a good one for you to ask, which is I feel just kind of like a more like encompassing of all the things we've been saying, as I'll ask myself, would this please God or Satan?
Mm-hmm.
Like what I'm about to do, what I'm about to
Mm-hmm.
think is like, is God going like, yay? And that's kind of that expansion, contraction type of a
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been asking that a lot. And when I was at Bible camp when I was younger, there was this really fun play that they did where there's a fence and one person goes up, God's on one side saying like, hey, do this, you come to heaven. Satan's on the other side, do this, you come to hell. I'll give you the cards, I'll give you the things. You don't need, and the person goes on the fence and, first, oh, you know what, the cars and all the, all the sins, that sounds good. I'm going to choose there. And the other one goes on and goes, you know what? No, I like it. And it goes to heaven. And the third one goes on and it's like, I can't decide. And then the play ends with Satan going, ha ha ha, I own the fence. And
Oh,
so it talks about like basically better to be hot or cold than lukewarm, or you get chewed up and spit out, and just
right.
really just living in that where it's like it is black or white more so than we think when we enter into the spiritual world. And if you're not consciously feeding the abundance, courage, positive impact, action, risk taking, abundance, wolf, then you by default are feeding the other.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
gosh. It's so much for people to think about. This is really, really powerful. And we'll definitely make sure that we put all of your information in the show notes, so people can learn about the retreats and things that you're going to be doing once you get
Yeah.
settled over there in Peru, which sounds amazing. I've never been to Peru. I've never even thought, I don't even think it was on my radar, but I'm going to add it to my list. Um, just to see it and to experience a country and a community where spirituality is ingrained like that. That sounds like a place I want to be. So I'm definitely excited about that. And I love knowing you're going to be there and you'll have this cool retreat center. I do retreats. So I definitely want to make sure that we have a sidebar conversation about that. Um, Anything just in closing, anything else you want to be able to share that's sitting on your heart or in your spirit right now?
Yeah, I got one thing that kind of ties it all together. Two
Okay.
things. I'm making education for kids. It's really cool. Uh, Trust me. But the thing that I want to bring forward is kind of the like how do I have the courage? And Ironically, it's actually from fear because I've seen enough humans that have gone to old folks' homes and say, "What do you regret?" And they never say things they did.
Mm-hmm.
It's always things they didn't do.
Oh, that is good. Oh, that's good. I like it.
That
Yeah.
fuels my courage all day. Hilariously enough, ironically enough, it's actually the fear of growing old and looking back at the actions I didn't take
Mm-hmm.
that I would probably regret.
Yeah, the pain of regret.
Mm.
That's good. And what was the second thing?
I have a youth academy. It's awesome. Come
Oh,
check it
okay,
out.
your youth
Hit me
academy.
up. I'm
Yeah, we'll definitely
teaching
put the
teenagers.
details.
Yeah, teaching teenagers how to be entrepreneurs, self-awareness and responsibility,
Yeah.
all the fun things that you wish that you learned in school instead of the hard way in your 20s.
And it's so important that we get that knowledge and information. So we'll make sure that we share that with everyone. This has been phenomenal as I knew it would be. I just love the way that you think, how you process, how you reason. I love that you live in courage instead of fear. And you know, what I think is important to just share there as a like a little sidebar end note is we're not saying don't feel the fear. We're just saying not to let the fear feed you and to not to allow the fear to keep you from what it is you know you are called to do, right? I've heard the analogy of, when you first really start as an entrepreneur, the fear is in the passenger seat. It might even be in the driver's seat. Then eventually it's in the back seat, and then eventually it's in the trunk, and then eventually you leave it at home. And
Wow.
so I feel like similarly, the important thing to do when there's a big decision to make, that's something that you're evolving into, you have an opportunity to really create a defining moment that is going to change the game and change your life, to lean into who you must be, who you must become, versus leaning into how could you do this differently, because
Mm,
that's the difference, if you ask me, between evolving or pivoting.
that's excellent.
Yeah. So I just want to say thanks again for being here, Matthew. This is amazing, amazing, amazing. We'll make sure we put all your details in the show notes. And for those of you who are listening, I know you're going to listen back a second time, and do us a favor. When you listen to this episode, take a screenshot of however you listen, tag us in the story so that we can celebrate with you that you are moving one amount of courage closer to surrendering, not abandoning the vision, but actually surrendering to what it needs to look like, be like, and feel like in order for you to get to where it is that you desire to see. And we'll see you guys next time. Take care.